Support WrestleTalk!
Donate on Patreon.
Hello and welcome to the WrestleTalk Mecha News! I am Luke Owen. Happy Friday, everyone! Or more importantly, happy Resident Evil 2 Remake Day, everyone! Seriously, I'm gonna do this news as quickly as possible so I can go home and play it. Soon. But before that, we've got a packed show of news today, including rumours of Kenny Omega nearly joining Impact Wrestling, storyline plans for Andrade following his feud with Rey Mysterio, and the story that Ronda Rousey will be leaving WWE after WrestleMania 35. But first, some might argue that the Funko Pop vinyl craze has jumped the shark and the company has completely run out of ideas. After all, this is a brand that has a figure of Joey from 90s TV show Friends wearing all of Chandler's clothes from the episode The One Where No One's Ready. I mean, really, who would want that? Add to basket. And of course, there's that pop vinyl of Nirvana singer Kurt Cobain. It's what he would have wanted. But just when you think they've scraped the very bottom of the barrel, they come out with a genius concept that shows there's still some people working at pop with a few light bulb ideas still left to turn on, with a Reddit user posting that the next wave of WWE pop vinyl figures will include Charlotte Flair, Ric Flair, Randy Orton, Batista, and an invisible John Cena. You literally cannot see him. I mean, you can, but you get the idea. But there was a different piece of merchandise tie-in that angered someone else in WWE recently. Earlier this week, the home of this Sunday's Royal Rumble, Chase Fields, unveiled their Royal Rumble-themed burger, which has the disgusting-looking combination of pork sausage, cheese, bacon, onions, coleslaw, barbecue aioli, and fried mac and cheese wedges. And I'm not saying it looks disgusting because I'm vegetarian. I mean, how do you even physically eat this thing? Someone who is more offended by the burger, however, is WWE champion and noted vegan Daniel Bryan, who tweeted Chase Fields should be ashamed of themselves. Made from factory-farmed pigs, an intelligent and extremely social mammal, and cheese from cows whose babies were ripped away from them, then add the heart disease delivered to the people who eat it. Hashtag shame. Hashtag the worst generation. Chase Fields, thinking this was likely a wrestler having a bit of fun social media banter, tweeted back, "We just give the people what they want, and they clearly want the hashtag Royal Rumble burger," which only angered Bryan further. An excuse every tyrant in history has made. The reality is you just want to line your pockets. Prove me wrong by giving 100% of the profits from the Royal Rumble burger to Phoenix Children's Hospitals or a similar charity. That is what the people want. Hashtag challenge corporate elites. Bryan will be defending his WWE Championship this Sunday against AJ Styles at the 2019 Royal Rumble, which will also see Becky Lynch vie for Asuka's SmackDown Women's Championship, Ronda Rousey defend her Raw Women's Championship against Sasha Banks, the co-besties of Shane McMahon and The Miz attempt to win the SmackDown Tag Team Championship from The Bar, as well as the men's and women's Royal Rumbles. And while the 7-match card is quite enticing and should be a lot of fun, ticket sales for the event and the subsequent Raw and SmackDown tapings aren't quite as hot, with thousands of tickets for the Rumble event still on sale. Not only that, but Saturday's NXT TakeOver Phoenix show is currently outselling both Raw and SmackDown, with around 9,000 tickets compared to Raw's 7,000 and SmackDown's 6,000. It's being reported that several sections will be tarped off for the Raw broadcast, while the entire upper section of Chase Fields will be tarped off for SmackDown Live. The fact that WWE are holding the Royal Rumble in Chase Fields is reportedly the reason the company advertised the match of Braun Strowman versus Brock Lesnar, even though there was no plan in place to ever have that match. The story goes that match for the Universal Championship was announced as WWE hoped it would drive up ticket sales for the event. And a new report suggests that WWE have done the same thing with John Cena. Cena's announcement that he would be in the Rumble match came as a surprise to many people, especially since he'd already announced he wouldn't be doing the show due to filming commitments on his next project, Playing with Fire, which also stars Brianna Hillbrand, Keenan Michael Key, and John Leguizamo. On Raw this week, WWE seemingly wrote Cena out of the Royal Rumble picture by announcing he had suffered an ankle injury and wouldn't be competing anymore, although he is still listed on WWE.com as an entrant. The original plan for this injury is that it would have been caused by the day debuting and lurking Lars Sullivan, which would have then built to a WrestleMania match between the two. Sadly, it was reported by Dave Meltzer in the Wrestling Observer that Sullivan suffered what is believed to be an anxiety attack, a story that was confirmed by Triple H on his pre-takeover conference call, where he said that Lars is welcome back into WWE when he's ready. Where this gets interesting and a little bit shady, however, is that like Braun versus Brock, there was reportedly never a plan in place for Cena to be in the Rumble match at all, and his announcement was only made to artificially sell tickets because Cena is a legitimate draw for the company.
Yo, if you ever want another ass whipping, just let us know, baby. What? What are you doing?
Fact of the matter is, I would still be the knockout champion if Dale wasn't in the ring.
You're suspended!
What?
Get out of here!
God, something's going on.
What?
Brian Cage? Brian Cage is on a rampage? This is a side of Brian Cage we have never seen before.
You said I was getting the next world title shot. You can keep ducking me all you want, but I'm getting my rematch.
What the hell? This is like the rise of the villains. Here comes Cage. And Cross and Moose have decimated the champion and the machine.
And that was your Impact Wrestling preview of the week, which continues the main event picture of Johnny Impact facing down Brian Cage, Killer Kross, and Moose, as well as building towards a match between Tessa Blanchard and Gail Kim, and continuing the excellent tag team feud between LAX and the Lucha Brothers. But if a new report is to be believed, the main event picture of Impact could have been very different in 2019. It was reported by several outlets last year, including Mike Johnson of PW Insider and Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer, that Impact were keen on bringing in Chris Jericho for a few shows due to his connection with Impact head honcho and color commentator Don Callis. Impact even teased a Jericho appearance on several occasions, but a debut never happened. Jericho himself confirmed these reports on his Talk is Jericho podcast, where he went through the timeline of events of leaving WWE prior to his Wrestle Kingdom match with Kenny Omega, all the way through to signing with All Elite Wrestling, saying that he got an offer from Impact which he nearly signed before deciding to go with AEW instead. Impact were gonna spend money on Chris Jericho, he oddly said in the third person. I did honestly talk to Impact and really thought about going there. And now Dave Meltzer has added in the latest Wrestling Observer newsletter that Jericho wasn't the only Don Callis connection that nearly came into Impact Wrestling, writing that Callis was very close to getting a 30-date deal with former IWGP Heavyweight Champion Kenny Omega to work in Impact as well as New Japan. But with the announcement of AEW on January 1st, that deal fell through, and he is likely to sign with All Elite Wrestling once his New Japan contract runs out at the end of the month. It's also being reported that New Japan have some other troubles on the table at the moment for their upcoming New Beginning shows in Los Angeles, North Carolina, and Tennessee. New Japan revealed the cards for these shows on Thursday, with matches like David Finlay versus Chucky T, Colt Cabana versus WrestleTalk fan Shane Taylor, and Juice Robinson versus Beretta for the IWGP United States Championship. But many fans were quick to notice something odd about these cards for New Japan Pro Wrestling. There are no Japanese pro wrestlers on them. And it turns out the reason New Japan don't have any of their Japanese stars on the card is because of the federal government shutdown ordered by Donald Trump. NJPW released a statement reading, "It is with great disappointment that we must announce that due to the ongoing 2018-2019 United States federal government shutdown, we were unable to obtain visas for our Japanese talent who were looking forward to seeing our US fans at the New Beginning in USA." Meltzer has added in the Wrestling Observer newsletter that New Japan submitted their visa request back in November as they would have been processed in time, but these were then put into a holding pattern when the shutdown began on December 22nd. After spending all of his 2018 main roster run as an afterthought on SmackDown Live, the former Cien Almas Andrade has been getting a much bigger push in WWE as of late, particularly in a feud with Rey Mysterio that has led to some great TV matches. This comes off the back of the reports that he was very unhappy with his position in the company, reportedly telling his friends Dragon Lee and Rush not to sign with WWE as it was not what it was all cracked up to be, leading to Rush signing with Ring of Honor instead. However, according to a new report, Andrade Andrade is set for a big push in 2019. Dave Meltzer writes in the Wrestling Observer newsletter that Andrade is the new big Latin babyface star of the future, with the idea that keeping him happy will encourage him to encourage his other Latin friends to come into WWE. Dave Meltzer writes, while not a sure thing, the direction looks to be that Mysterio and Andrade end their program as a babyface tag team, with Andrade getting the rub from Mysterio as part of strengthening the tag team division. Meltzer adds that this is likely a direct response to AEW, who will be putting a big focus on their tag division. However, that was not the biggest story from this week's Observer. According to Dave Meltzer, there was a decent amount of talk this past week internally, since we heard it from several people, that Ronda Rousey would finish up with WWE at WrestleMania 35. Adding, as of today, this was the plan. The current WrestleMania main event is set to be a triple threat match between Ronda Rousey, Charlotte Flair, and Becky Lynch, reportedly with Rousey putting over Lynch on her way out. The story goes that despite announcing Ronda had signed a multi-year deal with WWE, Rousey had actually only signed on for 1 year. Rousey has been very open in interviews that wrestling was never going to be her future, as her long-term thinking was to start a family with her husband Travis Brown. Rousey said back in November, "I can't wrestle forever because I feel like I'm failing my family. Adding all that energy I spend on the WWE is energy I don't spend on my family." What's interesting about this story is the fact that Ronda Rousey was signed with WWE was a big part of securing their TV deal with Fox for SmackDown Live later this year. Another interesting facet to this story is that in June last year, Ric Flair let slip in an interview that Rousey had only signed a 1-year deal with WWE, and that's why she would likely headline WrestleMania 35 with Charlotte Flair.
I'm not involved, obviously, in any of the thinking, but if they're ever going to put the women where they belong, this is the year because Ronda, I think Ronda's only signed a 1-year deal. She's out of there. Yeah. She wants to have kids and all that, so why not? Sure. She just needs to be prepared to lose. Not sure Ronda likes that.
It should be noted that Meltzer is very careful with his wording, saying there is a good chance that Ronda will be done after Mania 35, noting she will probably remain affiliated with the company afterwards. It's certainly possible for her to have a role like Undertaker or John Cena or others where she comes back at times. He also adds, as we've seen with Brock Lesnar for the last few years, Vince McMahon could make a great offer to Rousey to get her to stay, and therefore change the finish of the WrestleMania 3-way to see her win in order to shock fans. Bryan Satin has also reported sources tell us WWE agreed while signing Rousey that she could take time away if she wanted to start a family. We're told around Survivor Series she informed the company that it was likely she'd be taking that break after WrestleMania. When asked for comment, WWE replied, "Ronda Rousey is under contract with WWE until April 10th, 2021. Whether she wants to start a family is a private matter." Ronda Rousey will be in action for WWE this Sunday at Royal Rumble, and we recently posted our predictions for that show. But you could join in the fun. Our awesome pledge hammers over on Patreon at the $5 and above level are joining in our Fantasy Predictions League, where you compete against Ollie, Laurie, and myself in who can be the best guesser of a predetermined sport. Not only that, but you'll get our WrestleMania Extra podcast review of Royal Rumble 2000, as well as access to the back catalogue of reviews and a whole host of other rewards and goodies. Click the link on screen to become one of our pledge hammers today and join in the Wrestle League fun. And click the videos to check out the three of us do our best to predict this Sunday's Royal Rumble and Saturday's NXT TakeOver Phoenix. I've been Luke Owen, and that was Mecha News.